Okay, so I want to start today with a document title.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to warn you, this is a very strong contender for the most boring sentence ever written in the English language.
Oh, I think I know exactly which one you're talking about. Lay it on us.
You ready? It's the On-Site Records Information Management, RIM, IDIQ, Statement of Work.
Wow. Yeah. That really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
It sounds like something designed to cure insomnia. But here's the thing, and this is why I love doing these deep dives. Once you actually start reading it, you realize this isn't just bureaucratic filler.
Not at all.
It's actually a blueprint for this massive high-stakes, high-security logistics operation that, and this isn't an exaggeration, quite literally keeps the American population alive.
That is the perfect way to frame it. Because when we picture the FDA, what do we see?
Right.
We see the movie version, right? Scientists in white lab coats, they're peering into microscopes, holding up test tubes.
Yeah, maybe nodding solemnly at a clipboard. We see the science.
We see the science. But this document, this reveals the invisible engine running behind all of that. It pulls back the curtain on how the FDA manages the millions, and I do mean millions of pieces of evidence that determine if a heart valve is going to work.
Or if that can of tuna in your pantry is safe to eat.
Exactly.
And that's the mission we're unpacking today. We're looking at the connection between, paperwork and public health.
Mm-hmm.
Because the source material defines the FDA's mission as protecting the health of the American public: food, drugs, cosmetics, tobacco, you name it. But what we're diving into is the mechanism.
The how.
The how. How do they manage this transition from like a century-old paper bureaucracy to a modern digital powerhouse? All while sitting on a mountain of data that includes everything from top-secret formulas to, well, literal bags of animal feed.
Which we will definitely get to. But you hit on the core tension right away. This statement of work, it's not just about filing papers. It's about a concept called RIM Records Information Management. And the document makes it very clear the FDA is straddling two worlds. They're trying to become this media-neutral, information-based organization, but they're stuck in this hybrid reality where they have to manage cutting-edge digital data alongside mountains of physical stuff.
So let's start with the sheer scale of it, because the numbers in the fiscal year 24 stats just frankly blew my mind. We're looking at the FDA's Document Control Centers, or DCCs.
Right. Think of these as the nerve centers, the entry points for absolutely everything.
In just 1 year, these centers processed over 484,000 paper and electronic application submissions, nearly 500,000.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because that number, 484,000, it's deceptive.
That's so.
It actually underplays the work, because in the records management world, one submission isn't just one action. The source describes something called the multiplier effect.
Okay, unpack that for us. What does that mean in practice?
So, okay, imagine a drug company sends in an application for a new drug. That counts as one submission. But that single event triggers a whole cascade of transactions. It has to be received, it has to be prepped, imaged, or scanned, logged into the database, physically shelved.
And then probably pulled for review multiple times.
Right. By different scientists. So one box arriving at the door turns into like 10 different jobs for the staff.
Wow.
Exactly. The source notes that the actual number of transactions is potentially 3 to 5 times greater than the submission count.
So that 500,000 submissions?
Yeah.
We're actually talking about millions and millions of touch points every single year.
Every single year.
And we have to remember what these records actually are. I mean, we're not talking...
This isn't office supply receipts.
Receipts for office chairs or, invoices for toner cartridges.
No, these are regulatory submissions. This is the lifeblood of the industry. You have pre-market submissions, which are companies saying, hey, we invented this new pacemaker, can we please sell it?
And then you have the darker side, the post-market submissions.
Right. Adverse event reporting. This is the canary in the coal mine data. If a patient takes a drug and has a seizure, or a device fails during surgery,
that report goes into this system.
And
that's where the stakes get, well, terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that record gets lost or misfiled, or it gets stuck in a backlog because the multiplier effect overwhelmed the staff,
then the FDA scientists don't see the signal, they don't see the danger.
and the product stays on the market.
So in a very real sense, efficient records management is a safety feature. It is the absolute foundation of public safety. Without the record, the science, it effectively doesn't exist.
That is a really sobering thought. Now, when I think of records, I usually think of, stacks of paper, maybe some PDFs. But this statement of work lists the physical artifacts that come into these mailrooms.
Oh, it's wild.
And the list reads like a scavenger hunt.
It completely changes your mental image of an office job, doesn't it?
Let me just read a few of these. The FDA receives labels, bottles, syringes, laboratory samples, and my personal favorite, feed bags.
The feed bags are such a great detail.
Actual bags of animal feed.
Yes. You have to remember the breadth of the FDA's jurisdiction. It includes the Center for Veterinary Medicine.
Oh, okay.
So if there's an issue with cattle feed or a company is proposing a new additive for horse feed, the record isn't just the chemical formula printed on a piece of paper. It's the physical bag.
The whole thing.
The labeling, the packaging material itself. That is the evidence.
So you're a records manager, and your inbox for the day might contain a DVD, a stack of paper, and a literal 50-pound bag of grain.
And you have to figure out how to file all of that in a way that it can be retrieved 5 years from now if there's a lawsuit or a recall. And you mentioned the DVD that brings up the other massive headache described here.
Legacy media.
The Ghost of Technology Past. It's really a museum of obsolete tech.
It is.
The source explicitly mentions diskettes, CDs, DVDs, removable drives, and even microform.
Microform. I haven't heard that word in ages.
But the FDA has been around a long, long time. They have data on formats that, haven't been sold at Best Buy in 20 years. But the data on that floppy disk might be the original approval data for a drug that is still on the market today. You can't just throw it away.
So they have to maintain the actual hardware to read this stuff.
They have to maintain a media-neutral environment. It's the information that matters, not the format. But getting that information off the physical format involves a very physical, very manual process.
Okay, let's walk through that process. The journey of a document, let's call it.
I like it.
A truck pulls up to the White Oak campus in Maryland. What happens?
Well, first of all, it doesn't just pull up and drop off a box. The security protocols are intense. The source mentions that all incoming material is screened and X-ray scanned.
Like airport security for mail.
Precisely. Before anything even enters the building, they have to ensure there are no biological agents, no explosives, no threats. It's a federal facility.
Okay, so it clears the X-ray. Then what?
Then it goes to triage. Staff have to sort and prioritize all the mail before it even hits the system. But the part that really surprised me, and I think will surprise you, is the document prep.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the digital dream meets the gritty physical reality.
This is where the razor knives come out.
Yes. The document lists a specific role.
Yeah.
The document preparation clerk. And the job description involves using paper cutters and razor knives to debind documents.
It sounds so destructive. Why are they taking razor knives to these critical regulatory files?
It's for the scanners. You can't feed a bound booklet or a spiral bound report or a stapled dossier into a high-speed industrial scanner.
You got to break it down.
You have to turn it into loose leaf paper. So these clerks are manually dismantling these files, removing staples, paper clips, and physically cutting the spines off books.
But wait, don't they need to kit the original?
That is the kicker. The requirement is reassembly to pre-image condition. Yes. So you have to surgically disassemble the book, scan it at extremely high resolution. The specs require 300 DPI for black and white and 600 for color. And then you have to put it all back together so the physical record is preserved.
That is an incredible amount of manual labor. It's like Humpty Dumpty every single day with every single file.
It is. And they use OCR optical character recognition during the scan because a picture of a document is pretty useless if a scientist can't search for the text inside it.
Right. You need it to be data.
They're turning these physical artifacts into searchable data.
And they also mention jacketing. What is that?
That's old school archival terminology. You take the file, you put it in a protective folder or a jacket, you label it, and crucially, you barcode it. The FDA tracks these physical files with extreme precision. They need to know exactly which shelf, in which room, in which building that specific folder is sitting on.
Which brings us to the big transition. We said earlier the goal is a 21st century electronic-based RIM environment. If they're doing all this manual work with razor knives, why haven't they just switched to email? Why can't everyone just, upload their files?
Well, they are trying. The industry uses standards like ECTD, the Electronic Common Technical Document. It's a structured way to submit data, but the source admits they still receive a massive amount of unstructured files and native file formats.
So, messy data.
Very messy. And different centers have different rules. For example, I saw a note about the e-copy guidance for medical devices. If you're submitting under the Medical Device User Fee Act, you must provide an electronic copy.
So they're pushing the industry to go digital.
They're pushing hard. But the future they're really building toward is something called RPS.
The regulatory product submission.
Right.
And how is that different from what they have now?
The key difference is communication. Right now, submission is largely a one-way street.
I send you a box, and I wait.
Exactly. I send you a box or a digital file, and I wait 6 months for you to read it. RPS is designed to allow two-way communication within the record itself. It makes the file a dynamic workspace where the FDA reviewer and the company can actually interact.
It speeds up the science.
It speeds up the science.
Speed is good, but security seems to be the other massive theme here. I think people forget that the FDA isn't just protecting public health. They are holding the crown jewels of the entire pharmaceutical industry.
That's a huge part of the mandate. We are dealing with NPI non-public information.
Which includes trade secrets.
I mean, think about it. Coca-Cola's formula is famous, right? But every single pharmaceutical company has recipes that are worth billions.
Sure.
Manufacturing processes, quality control procedures, specific chemical synthesis methods. If that leaks, if a competitor got hold of that, the company could be ruined.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, you have the human element. PII, personally identifiable information.
Patient names. If you're in a clinical trial for a sensitive condition, let's say a new HIV drug or a cancer treatment, your data is in those files. The FDA is legally bound to protect that. The source material actually references the criminal codes 18 U.S.C. 641 and 1905.
So this isn't just you get fired. This is you go to federal prison.
Potentially, yes. Unauthorized disclosure is a criminal offense. And that fear is what drives the physical security measures we see in the document.
I love the detail about the secure file areas. I mean, these aren't just offices.
No, they're vaults. Alarmed, locked. And do you see the rule about the cleaning crews?
Yes, that stuck out to me.
The source says cleaning crews can only enter during working hours or with a guard. You can't just have a janitor wandering alone among the new drug applications at 2 a.m.
It's a zero-trust environment.
It has to be. Even the contractors who manage the records, some of them are required to arm and unarm the FDA alarm systems. They have controlled entry points where visitors have to sign in and out. It's a fortress for paper.
And a fortress for digital data, too. The cybersecurity requirements in this statement of work are intense.
Mandatory encryption. They cite FIPS S140 validation. That's the Federal Information Processing Standard for cryptographic modules. It's non-negotiable. And they are very strict about GFE government-furnished equipment.
I saw that. No taking laptops on personal foreign travel.
And no teleworking from foreign countries.
Yeah.
If you are a contractor and you want to go on vacation to Paris, you leave the FDA laptop at home.
You cannot work from a cafe in Rome.
No, the risk of foreign espionage or just data theft is too high.
So we've established this is a massive high-security, hybrid physical-digital operation. But who is actually doing the work? Because the document lists a whole hierarchy of labor categories, and it's quite a mix.
It is. It shows you the diversity of skills needed to keep this machine running. At one end, you have the sort of logistics crew, the general clerk doing the filing.
The messenger courier.
The messenger courier.
Who might be on a bicycle or a golf cart.
Yes. The source specifically mentions bicycles and golf carts for delivering sensitive documents across the campus.
That's amazing.
You have to imagine a courier pedaling a bicycle across White Oak with a backpack full of top-secret drug formulas. It is a very grounded image.
But then at the other end of the spectrum, you have the SMEs, the subject matter experts, and this is where my jaw dropped. These aren't just records experts.
No. They have distinct categories. There's the SME, records management, who knows about taxonomies and NARA regulations. But then there is the SME, scientific.
And what are the requirements for that job?
A master's or a PhD in medical or life sciences.
A PhD to work in records management.
Yeah, and it sounds like overkill until you realize what they're actually doing. They aren't just filing folders alphabetically.
So what are they doing?
They are abstracting data.
Explain that. What does that mean?
Okay, so imagine a 5,000-page report on a new biological therapy. It's dense, complex science. To index that correctly, to make sure that an FDA reviewer can search the database for adverse liver reaction, someone has to read the report, understand the biology, and tag it with the correct metadata.
So if you don't understand the science, you can't file the record correctly.
Exactly. If you mislabel a side effect because you didn't understand the medical terminology, you effectively hide that data from the reviewers. You bury the signal.
Wow.
That's why they need data stewardship. It's the core philosophy here. It is not just hoarding files, it's making sure data is accessible, usable, and trusted.
So these PhDs are essentially the librarians of the human body.
That is a beautiful way to put it. They ensure that the evidence is findable when it matters most.
We should probably talk about where all this is happening, the geography of data, if you will.
Yeah.
Because the FDA is split into these massive centers, and they all have their own acronyms.
Oh, it's an alphabet soup.
Let's run through a few just to give people a sense of the scope. CDER.
Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, probably the biggest volume.
Yeah.
That's your aspirin, your statins, your antibiotics.
Yeah.
Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, that's vaccines, blood products, gene therapy.
CDRH.
Center for Devices and Radiological Health, so everything from pacemakers to MRI machines to latex gloves.
And CFSAN.
Food safety and applied nutrition. This is where your low-acid canned foods records come in.
And CVM, where our feed bags live.
Veterinary medicine.
And physically, most of this is at the White Oak campus in Silver Spring, Maryland. But the storage requirements are massive. They have to run out of space, don't they?
Constantly. The document mentions massive warehouses in Ammendale, Maryland, specifically Ammendale A and Ammendale B.
Right.
These are holding linear feet of files.
Linear feet. I love that metric. Not gigabytes, linear feet.
When you have miles of shelving,
Yeah.
linear feet is the only metric that matters.
Oh.
For the really old stuff, or the stuff that needs to be kept forever but is rarely looked at, they reference the federal record centers.
Which are often in caves, right? For climate control.
Often underground limestone facilities, yeah, for climate control and for security. The source mentions the Washington National Record Center, which is a massive facility. It implies this long-term archiving where data goes to sleep, but it can never, ever die.
It really is a whole ecosystem. You have the golf carts, the warehouses, the razor knives, the encryption keys, and the PhDs.
All working together to ensure that when you buy a bottle of pills or you eat a can of soup, there is a record proving it's safe.
So let's unpack the so what here. Why should the average person care about the On-Site Records Information Management IDIQ?
Because we trust the FDA with our lives, literally, every single day. But that trust is not based on magic. It's based on evidence.
And the record is the evidence.
The record is the evidence. If the FDA says this drug is safe, they are not guessing. They are basing that on thousands and thousands of pages of data. And this contract, this statement of work, is the manual for how that data survives.
Right.
If this system fails, if the document preparation clerk loses a page, or the SME abstracts the wrong data point, or the messenger drops a file off the golf cart, the regulatory process breaks down.
It makes you realize that bureaucracy, which we usually complain about, is actually a safety feature.
In this case, yes. The redundancy, the tracking, the barcoding, it's all there to create a chain of custody for the truth.
I love that. A chain of custody for the truth.
It really is. And as we move to a digital world, that chain of custody becomes even harder to maintain. You can lock a paper file in a room and know it's there. How do you ensure a digital file hasn't been subtly altered in 10 years? That is the challenge of the 21st century.
It brings up a final thought for me. We talked about data continuity.
Yes.
If the records are lost, does the science just disappear?
Effectively, yes. In the scientific method, if you can't reproduce your results or show your raw data, it didn't happen. If the record of a drug safety trial is destroyed, that drug is no longer proven safe. It becomes a mystery substance. The record is the proof. Without the record, we are just taking a company's word for it. And history tells us that is, not enough.
A sobering thought. The paper trail isn't just trash, it's the proof of safety.
And managing it is a massive, high-stakes operation that happens in the dark so the rest of us can live in the light.
Well, I will certainly never look at a feed bag or a government form the same way again.
Or a razor knife.
Or a razor knife. That's all for this deep dive into the hidden world of FDA records management. Thanks for listening.